So, you know what? I didn't actually want to make a video about this. I saw the Hobey Baker candidates posted a few days ago, and I was like, okay, do we want to talk about that? I don't know. I mean, kind of has a whole bunch of guys that we kind of already know we're going to be there, and yada, 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 this and that. And I was like, okay, let's just kind of leave the topic on the back burner for a little bit. We'll talk about this later if something big comes up. Well, something big has come up. Today we're talking about the Hobey Baker Award in the NCAA, the award given to the best, most valuable player in the National Collegiate Athletes Association for men's ice hockey. Now, last time we spoke about the NCAA and the Hobey Baker Award, it was about Cole Caufield, because he's a guy who absolutely tore the roof off in the NCAA. Number one in the league in goals, number one in the league in points, number one in the league in points per game. He had all these labels attached to him and his profile, and especially the fact that he is a Montreal Canadiens prospect added to the popularity that he has. But last time we spoke about him, we spoke about the NCAA's Hobey Baker Fan Voting Awards portion of the trophy, because we noted how Caufield wasn't actually first in the fan voting, which wouldn't really be too much of a big deal if he actually was losing to somebody who is actually in that caliber of being honestly a contender of the Hobey Baker as well. We spoke about how the guy who actually was first in the voting was a guy named Colin Bielek, a guy who was very good at scoring goals for his own NCAA hockey program for sure, but a guy who was kind of being memed and hyped about amongst Toronto Maple Leafs fans, despite being an undrafted NHL prospect with no affiliation to the Leafs at all. Leafs fans liked Colin Bielek, and they voted for Colin Bielek over and over again because they didn't want to see Habs fans have the glory of having their prospect as the number one Hobey Baker guy. Well, even though the Hobey Baker fan vote and that part is done, we have ourselves what is the narrowed down final 10 list. And we noted this before, but just because somebody is number one on that bigger list with over 50 names doesn't actually mean they're included in this or that they're even guaranteed to win at all. It's just a poll that acts as a suggestion to the NCAA people that actually make the decisions as to who gets into this vote and all that. So now we have ourselves what is the final 10. And if we read off the names right here, oh boy, I have a whole bunch of guys that kind of deserve to belong here. Shane Pinto of the University of North Dakota Fighting Sioux. It is the Ottawa Senators prospect over here. Matthew Boldy from BC. He's a wild guy. David Ferentz, Nashville Predators prospect. BU Terriers proud over there. He is such a good player, man. Cole Caufield, University of Wisconsin Badgers, Montreal Canadiens guy. Dylan Holloway, University of Wisconsin Badgers guy. Edmonton Oilers prospect here. Spencer Knight, Boston College, Florida Panthers guy. Jack LaFontaine, University of Minnesota, Golden Gophers prospect here for the Carolina Hurricanes. Dryden McKay from Minnesota State University, Mankato. He is an undrafted prospect right here. Keith Petruzzelli from Quinnipiac University. He is a Detroit Red Wings goaltending prospect. And Odin Tufto, Quinnipiac University. He's undrafted. He was the guy who was second in points this year, behind Caufield the entire time. He's an absolute monster when it comes to scoring points. But I'll say this right here. After the Hobey Baker Award voting went up and went live, I made my vote initially. I voted for Cole Caufield because I was like, you know, out of all these guys, they're all pretty good. Pinto's good. Holloway's good. I think my vote's going to go to Caufield. I voted for Cole Caufield and I noted that he was first. Well, that was a few days ago, because now I saw this post on Reddit, on the Ottawa Senators subreddit of all places, showing vote for Shane Pinto, sends prospect to drop Cole Caufield to third. And I was like, wait, third? Drop Caufield to third? Who would have been first then? I opened the image and I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense now. So just an update on the Hobey Baker voting process for this year. Third place right now, with 18.8% of the votes, is Shane Pinto, an Ottawa Senators prospect for the University of North Dakota. He is absolutely phenomenal. So good on the dot, so good at producing. This is an absolute surprise, because we didn't really think that Shane Pinto was going to be this good this early, especially back when he was drafted at that 2019 NHL entry draft. But nevertheless, he is here actually in a tie for second place with Cole Caufield, 18.8% of the vote. Now, you may be thinking, okay, that's a pretty tight race right there. How exactly is it compared to the rest of the players? Well, I'll tell you this right here. Pinto and Caufield are tied for second and third with 18.8%. Fourth place, it's Jack LaFontaine, that goaltender for University of Minnesota. He's got a 4.6% of the vote. You can see how big the discrepancy here is. Meanwhile, first, it's Dylan Holloway of the Edmonton Oilers and the Wisconsin Badgers as well, and his voting number is at 50%. Oh my goodness, Edmonton Oilers fans are going out there and voting the heck out of this guy, and it's working. He's up there with over twice the amount of votes that second place and third place Cole Caufield and Shane Pinto respectively, or at least they're tied, have gotten, and it's not even close. Like, they're up and away the favorites for the fan vote for the Hobey Baker. Now, remember, just because you win here does not mean you win the Hobey Baker. It means that your suggestion will be forwarded to the actual Hobey Baker people, and they decide who actually gets it, and they use the fan vote as a factor. Not the entire thing, but just a factor. You can lose this fan vote and still win the Hobey Baker, but just the support coming out here, and just the rivalry coming out here too. The prospect post on the Send subreddit, please vote for Pinto just so Cole Caufield drops to third. It's funny because everybody kind of knows that out of everybody in this league, it's probably Caufield who has the biggest chance of actually winning the Hobey Baker. The circumstances of his team getting worse over the offseason, the circumstances that he's a small guy, and the fact that he was just under a goal a game at such a high rate in terms of points per game as well. Going over here, scoring goals, scoring hat tricks, night in and night out. Cole Caufield was in a spot where he really just made himself a resume for being the Hobey Baker Award winner this year. But Edmonton Oilers fans will always be the first to tell you, yeah, but Caufield's only good because he's playing with Holloway. In the same way that anti-Habs fans were telling you, oh, well, Caufield's only good because he's playing with Turcotte last year. And when other fans would say, well, Caufield's only good because he's playing with Jack Hughes when he was draft eligible for the NTDP. Well, remember this. I said this before, but I'll say it again here. Jack Hughes was the guy who, in an interview before the draft, said, yeah, I was really lucky to play with Cole Caufield because without him, I wouldn't have gotten as many points as I did. Cole Caufield has always been such a highly touted offensive guy. But because of the setbacks and because of the inadequacies, the fact that he is small, the fact that he did go in the middle of the first round, despite having a set of numbers that looked like it could have gone top 5-ish, had you asked certain people. All that stuff combined with the fact that he was drafted by Montreal, and we all kind of know that Montreal, if you're not a Habs fans are really annoying. So a lot of people out there on the Sens and the Oilers fan base are cheering for their guys, not just because they like their guys and they want them to do well in the vote, but because they also kind of just don't want Caufield to have his moment here. So if you're a Habs fan and you like what you saw out of Caufield this year, go ahead, vote for him in the fan vote for the Hobey Baker. If you're an Oilers fan and you liked what Holloway did and you think that is more valuable than what Caufield did, then go ahead. Feel free to vote for Holloway as well. Pinto, too, the guy was an absolute monster, so I can definitely justify going that way for the vote. But yeah, you know, it's really interesting to see how this goes down, because I was like, yeah, Caufield was winning when I voted a few days ago. Now he is second, third by a long shot. So talk to me in the comments what you thought about this topic here, NCAA prospects, the Hobey Baker, and all that. I hope you enjoyed this Visage Rolls 99, and bye.